It started in the most ordinary place, an old corner laundromat that still had machines with coin slots, the kind that rattled and hummed like they were tired of the years. I'd been going there for a few weeks since moving into the building, dragging my basket down the narrow stairs, headphones in, trying not to look like I was counting how long I'd been living alone. She was already there most nights. Same corner seat, paperback open, glasses perched halfway down her nose. At first, I thought she was just another tenant I'd never talked to. But she remembered things. Little things. "You always forget fabric softener," she said once, glancing at the bare shelf above my machine. I laughed it off, but the next week she slid her bottle across the folding table without looking up from her book. That's how it began, without ceremony, without intent. Just exchanges like that. She was in her mid-40s, I guessed. Dark hair tied back, soft lines near her eyes that didn't hide the fact she smiled more than most people I knew. I was 23, and though I tried to keep my distance, I found myself timing my loads when she'd likely be there. Not that I'd ever admit it. Tonight, she noticed me folding my shirts a little too carefully, dragging it out like I was waiting for something to happen. "You know," she said, closing her book with one finger marking the page, "you fold like someone who doesn't have anywhere else to be." I shrugged, half smiling, half exposed. "Guess that makes two of us." She let out a quiet laugh, dry, unpolished, the kind that made the air between us feel less like strangers. I sat across from her. Close enough to catch the faint smell of coffee on her sleeve. She wasn't trying to be anything. She wasn't dressed up, no makeup, just a navy sweater, hair slipping loose at her temple. But I kept noticing the smallest things, how her thumb traced the edge of the page, how she looked up like she was measuring whether to keep talking or let the silence stretch. And I didn't mind the silence. It felt safe. The machines clicked to their final cycle, and she tilted her head toward mine. "So, are you going to tell me your name, or should I just keep calling you fabric softener guy, in my head?" Her tone was playful, but it made my chest tighten. I told her, stumbling over it like I hadn't said it in days. She repeated it, softly, then nodded as if she'd known it all along. For a second, I thought about saying something else, asking her about the book, why she always came here at night, whether she timed her loads too. But the words jammed in my throat. Instead, I watched her gather her laundry, neat stacks that looked like they belonged in a life more organized than mine. When she stood, I realized I was holding my breath. "You live next door, don't you?" she asked, pausing by the door. I nodded. "Yeah." Her smile lingered, but it wasn't a wide one. More like she was holding back, testing the air. She tapped the doorframe lightly, then left with her basket. I sat there, alone again, the hum of the machines fading. I should have gone upstairs right away. Instead, I stayed, folding and refolding the same shirt until my phone buzzed on the table. One new message. Unknown number. It said, "Next time, don't wait for an excuse." The next time I saw her, it wasn't in the laundromat. It was the hallway, her arms full of groceries, one of the paper bags tearing at the bottom. A can rolled toward my door. I picked it up before she could, handing it back. "Guess the laundromat's safer than this," I said. She gave me a look, half amused, half tired, and let me take the heavier bag. "I usually manage. But, thanks." Her apartment was right next to mine. Same narrow layout, but hers smelled faintly of chamomile and books left open on the couch. She set the bags down, brushing hair from her face. "You don't have to hover," she said, but she didn't close the door either. So I stayed. She put water on for tea, moving with the ease of someone used to being alone, everything done quietly, efficiently. I leaned against the counter, pretending not to notice the family photos tucked halfway behind a stack of mail. A man, a younger version of her. Smiles frozen in frames. She caught me looking and followed my eyes. For a second, something flickered in her expression, then she turned back to the kettle. That was, a long time ago. I didn't ask. I just nodded, though the silence seemed to underline it. Divorced, probably. Or worse. Whatever the story was, it wasn't mine to pull at. The tea steamed between us at her small table. She slid a mug toward me, fingers brushing the edge just long enough to notice. You don't strike me as someone who moved here by choice, she said. I gave a short laugh. Dropped out last semester. Thought the city would, you know, fix things. Her eyes softened, but not in pity. More like recognition. She stirred her tea slowly. I thought the same once. It doesn't. Just gives you different problems. We sat there, words thinning out. I should have left then, thanked her, gone back to my side of the wall. But I didn't. Something about the quiet felt like leaning over the edge of something I shouldn't. I kept imagining it, what my friends would say if they knew, the look on my mother's face, the way this could all collapse before it even began. She was 20 years older, divorced, settled in ways I wasn't. I knew every reason not to linger, and yet. You keep doing that, she said suddenly. Doing what? Her eyes held mine, steady. Looking at me like you're not supposed to. Heat rushed through me, but I didn't deny it. Couldn't. She smiled, but it wasn't teasing. It was sad. You remind me of someone who used to wait for me after class. Same restless way of listening. I tilted my head. And what happened to him? Her gaze dropped to her tea, swirling in circles. He grew up. The kettle ticked as it cooled, filling the silence. She stood to clear the mugs, her sleeve brushing my arm, just fabric, just a second, but it landed heavier than it should have. I didn't move. Neither did she. Then she set the mugs in the sink and said lightly, "Don't forget your laundry tomorrow." But her hand lingered on the counter, inches from mine, as if neither of us was ready to step back. The following week, the laundromat was empty when I got there, no paperback, no navy sweater in the corner. For the first time, I realized how much I'd come to expect her presence, how much I'd timed my evenings around the chance of it. I told myself it didn't matter. I loaded the machine, sat with my headphones in, but every minute dragged. Halfway through the cycle, the door opened. She stepped in, holding a laundry basket balanced on her hip. Relief flickered through me before I could hide it. You almost started without me, she said, light but edged with something else. I wasn't sure if, I cut myself off. I didn't know if you'd come tonight. Her eyes narrowed, just slightly, like she was testing whether I meant more than I said. She didn't answer, only took the machine across from mine. The hum between us felt heavier than usual. We folded in silence, the air pressing in. Every now and then, I caught her glancing at me, then looking away quickly. Finally, she broke it. My sister called today, she said, smoothing a towel that didn't need smoothing. She asked if I was seeing anyone. I laughed, but she stopped, lips tightening. I tried to smile. What did you tell her? That I was too busy. She looked up, meeting my eyes for a beat too long. It was easier than explaining. Explaining what? Hung between us, but I didn't push. Before I could, the door banged open. A guy from the third floor strolled in, nodding at me, then at her. He recognized her. He lingered. Hey, Mrs. Hale, he said casually. The title hit me like a weight, Mrs. Hale. Not just a woman at the laundromat. A neighbor with a past that other people here knew, maybe even gossiped about. She returned the greeting, polite, clipped. When he left, the silence returned, but sharper this time. I wanted to ask if everyone still called her that, if it bothered her. Instead, I said, he seems to know you well. Her jaw flexed. Too well. People around here like to keep track of each other. She folded the last of her laundry with deliberate care, then reached for the door. I followed, carrying my basket, and before I knew it we were at her door, side by side. She hesitated with the key in her hand. "This isn't," her voice faltered. She tried again. "This isn't a good idea." The words landed between us like a wall. I should have agreed, should have stepped back into the safety of my own apartment. But instead, I heard myself say quietly, "Then why are you here?" Her hand stilled on the key. Slowly, she turned her face toward mine. The hallway light flickered once, buzzing faintly. For a second, neither of us moved. Her eyes dropped to my mouth, then back to my eyes. I leaned in, barely, cautiously, but the space between us never closed. The click of her lock broke it. She pushed the door open, her voice soft but firm. "Good night." And just like that, the moment dissolved, leaving me standing in the hallway with the sound of her door shutting, the words still echoing inside my head. It happened on a Sunday afternoon, the kind where the city felt half asleep. I ran into her outside the building, carrying a bag of recycling. She was locking her door, sunglasses on, a scarf pulled tight around her neck though it wasn't that cold. "Going out?" I asked. She hesitated. "Just a walk." I don't know what made me say it, but the words came before I could stop them. "Mind if I come along?" Her lips parted, as if she might say no. Then she nodded once, quick. "Just a walk." We didn't go far, just to the park 2 blocks away. We sat on a bench near the fountain, watching kids chase pigeons, couples strolling by. Normal things. But between us, nothing felt normal. She kept her sunglasses on, even in the shade. Her hands folded tight in her lap. I noticed the way her fingers tapped against each other, restless. "You don't usually come out here," I said. "I don't usually let people come with me," she replied, voice flat but not unkind. The quiet stretched. I kept glancing at her, searching for some crack in the calm. Finally, she sighed and pulled off the glasses, setting them on the bench between us. Her eyes looked tired, softer without the shield. "You make this harder than it should be," she said suddenly. I froze. "Harder?" She leaned back, staring at the fountain. "I've spent years getting comfortable with silence, with being alone. And then you're just there. Next door. Folding your laundry like you're waiting for something. I keep telling myself it's harmless, but," she cut herself off, shaking her head. I swallowed. "But it doesn't feel harmless." Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp but vulnerable. "You're 23. You don't know what you want yet." "That's not true." My voice came out low, steadier than I felt. "I know I shouldn't want this, but that doesn't stop me." She pressed her lips together, as if holding something back. Then she laughed softly, bitterly. "God, you sound like him." "Like who?" "My ex. He was younger too. I thought it made me alive again. Turns out it just made me tired." Her words stung, but I didn't move. I let them hang there, heavy. "Is that what this is?" I asked finally. "Just something that'll make you tired?" She turned toward me then, fully, her eyes catching mine. There was no humor in her face, no shield. Just raw honesty. "I don't know," she whispered. "And that scares me more than anything." The fountain splashed in the background, kids laughed in the distance. But on that bench, it felt like the world narrowed to a single fragile thread between us. I wanted to reach for her hand, to close the gap. Instead, my fingers tightened on the edge of the bench until my knuckles ached. She noticed. Her hand hovered near mine, close enough that the heat of her skin brushed the air. But she didn't touch me. Not yet. And I didn't pull away. The next few days, I didn't see her. Not in the hallway, not in the laundromat, not even passing by the mailbox. I told myself it was coincidence, that we just missed each other. Still, every time I heard footsteps outside my door, my chest tightened. By the fourth night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I went down to the laundromat at the usual hour, basket in hand. Empty. Only the machines humming, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. I sat there anyway, pretending I needed the quiet, but mostly waiting. She never came. The following morning, I finally caught a glimpse, her apartment door half open, her voice low and steady inside. Another voice answered, a man's. Deep, older. I froze before she could see me, standing in the hallway like an eavesdropper. The door shut, and I slipped back to my place. My laundry sat untouched. That evening, I saw her again, arms crossed as she waited by the elevator. She noticed me immediately, her posture stiffening. You've been busy, I said carefully. Her eyes flicked toward mine, then away. My son's visiting. He's on break. It hit harder than I expected. A son. I don't know why it surprised me, of course she had a past, a family. But the thought of him here, younger than me maybe, sleeping just a wall away from where I slept, it tilted everything sideways. You didn't mention him, I said quietly. Not everything needs to be mentioned, she replied, her tone sharper than before. Then softer, he doesn't stay long. A week, maybe less. I nodded, unsure what else to do. The elevator doors opened, and she stepped in without looking back. After that, things shifted. She didn't linger in conversation. No half smiles, no shared tea. Just polite nods, the careful kind you give a stranger. It shouldn't have mattered. She had every right to her own life, her own boundaries. Still, I kept replaying our bench talk in my head, the way she'd said I made things harder, the way her hand hovered close to mine. Was it only me that felt it? Was she already closing the door on it? One night, I typed out a message, I miss talking to you. I stared at the words until the screen dimmed, my thumb hovering over send. Then I erased it, one letter at a time, until nothing remained. The hallway felt louder these days, full of voices, doors opening and closing. But her door stayed shut to me. On the fifth night, I went to the laundromat again. Still empty. Her corner chair, the one she always claimed, sat untouched, a paperback lying closed on the table. I almost picked it up. Almost. Instead, I sat across from it, folding and refolding a shirt that didn't need folding, listening to the hum of the machines fill the space she used to. And when I left, I didn't knock on her door. It was late when I heard the knock. A soft, almost hesitant sound against my door. I opened it and found her there, no sunglasses, no careful posture. Just her, arms crossed, sweater sleeves pushed up like she'd been pacing. Can I? She started, then stopped. I stepped aside without a word. She came in, looking around my apartment as though she'd never expected to. The place was small, barely furnished, just a couch, a stack of books, a half-dead plant by the window. She set her hands on the counter, steadying herself. He's gone, she said finally. My son. Back to school. I nodded. The words hovered between us, unsteady. I didn't tell you about him because I didn't want you to see me differently. Her voice cracked in the middle, though she kept it quiet. I didn't want you to look at me like I was someone's mother, someone's mistake. I shifted closer, not touching, just enough for her to know I was listening. I don't. She gave a small laugh, dry and sharp. You're too young to know what you don't. Silence again. The kind that pressed against the ribs. I could have let it end there, walked her back to her door, let this fade into nothing. But something in me refused. I keep thinking about that night, I said, voice low. When you told me I make this harder. You were right. Because every time I try to stop, I don't want to. And I don't know if that's selfish or stupid, but it's the truth. Her shoulders dropped, the smallest surrender. She turned, meeting my eyes. There was no shield this time. No easy out. You don't understand what it costs, she whispered. Then tell me. Her hand lifted, almost without her meaning to, brushing the side of her temple. A nervous habit, maybe, but the movement felt like a breaking point. She stepped closer, close enough that I caught the faint smell of chamomile again. I can't promise you anything, she said. Not a future, not a clean ending. Just, this. Whatever this is. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. I'm not asking for forever. Her eyes glistened, though no tears fell. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she reached out, fingertips grazing my wrist. Just a touch, light as a question. I didn't pull back. She exhaled, shaky but relieved, like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. And then, finally, she smiled, a small, human thing, fragile but real. Okay, she said. The word wasn't loud, but it landed like a decision. And for the first time, the silence between us felt like something we had chosen, not something that chose us. Weeks passed. Not all at once, but in the slow way seasons shift, without anyone announcing it, only small changes you notice if you're paying attention. We didn't fall into anything dramatic. No secret getaways, no whispered promises. Just, a rhythm. A routine. Sometimes, on Sunday afternoons, we walked to the park together, sat on that same bench by the fountain. She still wore her sunglasses when she felt the world was looking too close, but she always set them down on the bench between us, like she had that first time. Other nights, I'd hear her kettle through the thin walls at 8:47 p.m. sharp. A soft whistle, followed by her quiet knock at my door. She'd hold up 2 mugs, tea for her, black coffee for me, like it was the most ordinary thing. And it became ordinary, in the best way. Not perfect. She had days when she pulled back, retreating into her books, her silences. I had nights when I stayed up too late, restless, wondering if I was enough. But we learned how to step carefully around those edges, not to fix them, just to leave space for them. Once, when we were folding laundry side by side, she caught me smoothing a shirt that didn't need smoothing. You still do that, she said, smiling faintly. What? Fold like you're waiting for something. I looked at her hands, steady on the fabric. Maybe I am. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. The way her arm brushed mine as she reached for the next shirt said enough. Her son called sometimes, his voice muffled through the walls. She never introduced us, never explained me. And I didn't push. Some parts of her life stayed hers alone, and I learned that was its own kind of intimacy. One evening, we sat on her couch, mugs in hand, no words for a long time. Outside, the city moved on, cars passing, people laughing, doors shutting. Inside, the only sound was her breathing, steady, close. She leaned her head lightly against my shoulder. Not a declaration. Not even a question. Just, weight shared. And in that moment, I thought about the first night I saw her in the laundromat, the way she slid a bottle of fabric softener toward me without looking up. The smallest gesture, and how it had unraveled everything since. I looked down at her then, her eyes closed, her lips curved in the faintest almost smile. Okay, I whispered, repeating the word she'd given me that night in my kitchen. Her hand found mine, fingers weaving through with quiet certainty. No fireworks. No finish line. Just the steady hum of something we hadn't been brave enough to name but had chosen anyway. And that was enough.